Picture this. You walk into a room and before you've even said a single word, heads turn. Some people can't stop smiling at you like you've just brought the sunshine in with you. Others suddenly look down at their phones, pretending they didn't notice. And you're standing there thinking, what just happened? I haven't even done anything yet. That's because you carry something most people don't know how to name, but they can feel it. It's not your clothes. It's not your title. It's not even your smile. It's your presence. And here's the truth that nobody likes to admit. When your presence is powerful, it makes people uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you remind them of something they've lost or never had. Some will be drawn to you like a magnet, wanting to know your story, wanting to be near you. Others will quietly avoid you, even resent you, because your energy disrupts the little bubble they've built for themselves. And if you've ever wondered, why do I get such mixed reactions from people? Or why strangers seem to either open up to you instantly or give you that cold side eye? It might be because your aura, your energy, is stronger than most people can handle. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 6 signs that your aura is so powerful, it shakes people without you even trying. But fair warning, once you see these signs, you can't unsee them. And you may realize that what you thought were flaws are actually proof that you're operating on a level most people will never reach. When people hear the word aura, they often think of something mystical, floating lights around your head, or some crystal shop kind of talk. But let's get real. Your aura isn't some magical force reserved for spiritual gurus. It's the energy you carry, the invisible yet undeniable impression you leave on people without saying a single word. We all have an aura. Everyone. It's the sum of your confidence, your mindset, your self-respect, your body language, your values. It's how you occupy space, physically and emotionally. The reason yours feels more powerful than most isn't an accident. It's the result of the choices you've made, the resilience you've built, and the authenticity you refuse to abandon. Here's the thing about a powerful aura. It's not something you put on like an outfit. You can't fake it. You can't copy it from someone else. You can't buy it, borrow it, or hack it. A real aura comes from alignment. When who you say you are matches who you really are. And when that alignment is strong, people feel it before you've even introduced yourself. Think about the last time you met someone who instantly commanded the room. You didn't know them yet, but something in you clocked their presence. It wasn't about their looks. It wasn't about their money. It was something else. Something in the way they stood, the way they held themselves, the way they looked at people. You didn't have to be told they were confident. You just knew. That's aura. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. A powerful aura disrupts the status quo. People who are used to small talk and surface level connections suddenly find themselves feeling exposed around you. Because when you walk in with that level of presence, you are unconsciously giving others permission to show up as their full selves. And that terrifies some people. Why? Because most people are used to shrinking. They've learned to lower their voice, downplay their wins, hide their true opinions, and stay within the invisible limits of what's acceptable. Your energy breaks those limits without even trying. You might not even notice it's happening, but they do. A strong aura says, I'm here. I'm not apologizing for it, and I'm not asking for permission. That's intimidating to people who have lived their lives seeking approval from everyone around them. And let's be honest, there's a cost to having that kind of presence. Some people will misinterpret it as arrogance. Some will try to compete with you without you ever challenging them. Others will gossip about you just to make themselves feel less small. But the truth is, none of that is really about you. It's about what your energy reflects back to them. Here's the psychology behind it. When you walk into a space fully owning yourself, you're holding up a mirror to everyone in that room. Some people will see that reflection and think, wow, I want to rise to that level. Others will see it and feel the weight of their own insecurities. And instead of dealing with that discomfort, they project it onto you, labeling you as intimidating, cold, or too much. Notice those words, too much. That's what people say when your light is shining brighter than the dim version of themselves. They've gotten used to. It's not that you're too much, it's that they've gotten comfortable with too little. A powerful aura also has a gravity to it. You'll find that people are drawn to you even if they can't explain why. They'll ask for your advice, your opinion, your attention, sometimes on things that have nothing to do with you. That's because your presence makes them feel anchored. You're radiating certainty in a world that constantly feels unstable, and people crave that. But let me make something crystal clear. Having a powerful aura doesn't mean you're perfect or that you never feel doubt or fear. It means you've learned to walk through life without letting those fears dictate how you move. You've built a level of self-respect so solid that even on your worst days, people still feel the weight of who you are. And the reason your aura feels different is because it's backed by something real. It's backed by the nights you stayed up working on yourself when nobody was watching. It's backed by the times you stood your ground when it would have been easier to stay silent. It's backed by the boundaries you've set, the risks you've taken, and the moments you've chosen integrity over approval. That's why people can't fake it. Because if you've never faced yourself honestly, if you've never done the work to know who you are, you can't walk into a room and expect people to feel something authentic from you. And this is why the word aura matters, because your aura tells the truth about you, whether your words do or not. If you're insecure, people will feel it. If you're confident but compassionate, people will feel that too. If you're bitter, if you're jealous, if you're hiding something, yes, people will feel it, even if they can't pinpoint why. When your aura is powerful, it's because the story you're telling with your energy is consistent, it's steady, it's unapologetic, and that makes people pay attention, even the ones who pretend they aren't watching. So when we talk about your aura being too powerful for most people, what we're really saying is this: you've reached a place where you no longer shrink yourself to fit in. You walk in as yourself, not the version of you that makes other people comfortable. And that kind of self-possession is rare. It's disruptive. It's magnetic. Some will love you for it. Some will fear you for it. But everyone will remember you for it. And here's the secret. Your job isn't to water yourself down, so the fearful ones can handle you. Your job is to keep your energy clean, your values solid, and your presence real, because the ones who are ready for that kind of power will rise to meet you. Now, once you understand this, the next step is to recognize exactly how your aura shows up in the world and why it sometimes triggers extreme reactions. That's where these 6 signs come in. Here's where things get interesting. Once you start to understand that your aura is simply the truth of who you are, radiating outward, you begin to notice patterns in how people respond to you, patterns in the kinds of situations you find yourself in, patterns in the tension or curiosity your presence stirs up. There are certain behaviors, reactions, and circumstances that almost act like little clues that your energy is hitting differently. These aren't random. They're not coincidences. They're markers of the fact that you're operating on a level that isn't average. Think of these 6 signs like a roadmap, not just so you can recognize them in yourself, but so you can understand what's really happening when you see these things play out. Because when you don't have this awareness, you can end up questioning yourself, wondering if you're the problem, or trying to make yourself smaller to avoid ruffling feathers. And once you understand them, you stop taking things personal. You start seeing them for what they are. Proof that your aura is working exactly as it's meant to. The first thing you'll notice is that people often react to you in extremes. There's very little middle ground. When you meet new people, some will light up instantly, lean in, and want to know more about you. Others will immediately stiffen, go quiet, or even find an excuse to leave the interaction quickly. This isn't about what you've said, it's about the signal you're giving off. You've just walked in carrying self-possession, and that alone forces people into one of 2 modes: curiosity or defensiveness. If you've ever had someone dislike you before they even got to know you, this is often the reason. Another sign, you'll find that you're often underestimated at first. Until people see you in action, they might assume you're just another friendly face or someone they can size up in a glance. But then you speak, or you make a decision, or you handle a challenge, and suddenly their entire perception of you shifts. That's because your aura isn't about being loud or flashy. It's about being quietly certain. And that certainty has a way of catching people off guard. You might also notice that people are unusually open with you, even if you don't know them well. There's something about your presence that makes others drop their guard. Sometimes for good, sometimes against their better judgment. This can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it means you build deep connections quickly. On the other, it can make people feel exposed, and they may later retreat because they weren't ready for that level of authenticity. Your aura acts like truth serum. People either find it liberating or terrifying. Then there's the way certain people will try to test you. They'll challenge your opinion in public, make subtle digs, or throw a little shade in front of others. This isn't random, it's their way of checking if the confidence you project is real or just a mask. What they don't realize is that you've faced much bigger tests in life than whatever petty challenge they're bringing to the table. These moments are not a cue to get defensive. They're an opportunity to stand firm without lowering yourself. And when you do that consistently, you'll notice these tests start happening less often because people learn quickly that you don't flinch. Another pattern you might recognize: your circle of close relationships is smaller than most. It's not that you can't get along with lots of people. You can, but true connection for you isn't about quantity. It's about depth. You'd rather have 3 people in your corner who are real, resilient, and reliable than 30 acquaintances who wouldn't show up when it matters. This sometimes confuses people because from the outside it might look like you're selective or standoffish. But the truth is, you're simply intentional with your energy. You know that giving too much of yourself to the wrong people drains the very power that makes your aura what it is. And perhaps one of the most telling signs you've learned to be comfortable with being misunderstood. You know that not everyone is going to get you, and that's fine. You don't waste energy trying to convince them otherwise. When you stop performing for other people's approval, you stop fearing their misinterpretations. This doesn't mean you're closed off. It means you're rooted enough in who you are that you don't crumble under the weight of someone else's story about you. That in itself is power, because the majority of people are still living for external validation. When you put all these signs together, a pattern emerges. You realize that what you once might have seen as problems, the cold stares, the sudden confessions, the small circle, the people who try to test you, are actually just signals. They're indicators that you're moving through life with a frequency that not everyone can match. The key is to stop seeing these signs as reasons to change who you are. Too often, people with a strong presence tone themselves down in the hope of making life easier. But here's the irony: the moment you dim your light to make others comfortable, you stop attracting the people and opportunities that are actually meant for you. Your aura is a filter. It keeps certain things out and draws the right things in. If you mess with that filter, you start living someone else's version of your life instead of your own. So when you see these signs, instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" start asking, "What is my presence making possible right now?" Maybe that cold stare from across the room is someone feeling challenged in a way they've never been before. Maybe that random stranger telling you their life story is because you're the first person in years who made them feel truly heard. Maybe the friend who drifted away didn't leave because of something you did wrong, but because your growth was a reminder of the growth they've been avoiding. Once you see these moments for what they are, you stop trying to control how people react to you, and you start focusing on staying aligned with your own values and goals. Because here's the truth: the right people will always respond to your aura with respect, inspiration, and loyalty. The wrong ones will either fall away or try to pull you down. And either way, that's your filter doing its job. The roadmap isn't here to tell you how to have a powerful aura. You already do. It's here to remind you that the very reactions you might have been questioning are often proof that you're walking in a level of authenticity, confidence, and self-awareness that many people never reach. The challenge isn't whether you can carry that. It's whether you're willing to carry it without apologizing. Here's the part most people don't prepare you for: what it actually feels like to walk through the world with a strong presence. When your aura is powerful, you're not just living in your own energy. You're constantly interacting with the emotional reactions it triggers in others. And the truth is, these reactions are not always easy to navigate. And some people will light up around you. You'll see it instantly. The way their posture changes when you walk into the room, the spark in their eyes, the curiosity in their voice. These are the people who are inspired by your presence. You represent possibility to them. You remind them of their own potential. Even if they haven't tapped into it yet, they'll lean in. They'll ask questions. They'll want to spend time with you because your energy makes them feel like they can step into something bigger for themselves. But for every person like that, there will be another who reacts with the complete opposite. They'll feel uneasy, maybe even irritated, and they won't always know why. They might avoid eye contact, speak to you in a clipped tone, or seem distant for no apparent reason. This isn't because you've done something wrong. It's because your presence makes them aware of parts of themselves they've been ignoring. Maybe it's the confidence they wish they had, or the courage to speak their mind, or the discipline to follow through on their goals. Your energy doesn't let them hide from that awareness, and instead of facing it, they deflect it back onto you. It's human nature. When people are confronted with something that makes them uncomfortable, they'll often label it instead of learning from it. That's when you'll hear words like arrogant, intimidating, or too much. These labels are defense mechanisms. They're not a reflection of who you actually are. They're a reflection of how someone feels about themselves in your presence. Understanding this is key because it stops you from internalizing their judgment as truth. You'll also experience a third reaction, people who project their own needs onto you. These are the ones who confide in you quickly, ask for your advice, or lean on you in ways that can sometimes feel heavy. Your presence gives them a sense of safety, and that's a gift, but it's also something you have to manage carefully. Because if you're not intentional about your boundaries, you can end up carrying other people's emotional loads without realizing it. Then there's the subtle but important group, those who see you as competition, even when you're not competing. This can happen in the workplace, in social circles, even within families. When you have a strong aura, people notice you. That attention can make others feel like they're fading into the background. And instead of seeing your success as an opportunity to collaborate or learn, they treat it like a threat. You'll notice them challenging your ideas unnecessarily, trying to outshine you in small ways, or even undermining you in front of others. This is another form of insecurity, but it's dressed up as rivalry. What's interesting is that all of these reactions, whether admiration, discomfort, dependency, or competition, are really about the same thing. People responding to the emotional charge your presence brings into a space. And here's the part that can catch you off guard. You can trigger all four of these reactions in the same room at the same time from different people. You can be inspiring one person, irritating another, comforting someone else, and being challenged by a fourth, all without changing a single thing about yourself. If you don't understand what's happening, you can start to feel pulled in too many directions. You might try to tone yourself down to make the uncomfortable people more at ease. You might overextend yourself for the ones who lean on you. You might get defensive with the competitive ones, and before you would, you're bending and twisting your energy to manage other people's emotions instead of staying grounded in your own. That's why self-awareness is critical. You need to be able to recognize these reactions for what they are. Not a signal to change who you are, but a signal to stay rooted in your presence while choosing how you engage. You don't owe everyone the same level of access to you. You can inspire someone without taking responsibility for their growth. You can be kind to someone who's uncomfortable around you without dimming your light to ease their discomfort. You can respect someone who sees you as competition without stepping into their game. One of the hardest lessons you'll learn is that not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Some people will only ever see you through the lens of their own insecurities. No matter how kind, generous, or genuine you are, they'll interpret your presence as something to push against. And if you're not careful, you'll waste precious energy trying to win them over. Instead, the real strength lies in accepting that your aura is not supposed to be universally palatable. Think about it. When was the last time a truly impactful leader, artist, or changemaker was loved by everyone? Never. That's because powerful energy disrupts comfort zones, and disruption is always met with resistance before it's appreciated. Your job is not to make everyone like you. Your job is to stay true to the energy you're meant to carry and let it do its work. That work might be to inspire, it might be to challenge, it might be to wake someone up to their own potential, and sometimes it might simply be to hold your ground so someone else learns that not everything in life will bend to their will. When you stop seeing emotional reactions as personal attacks or validations, you start to see them as data. They tell you about the other person's state of mind far more than they tell you about yours. And when you operate from that understanding, you move through the world differently. You stop chasing approval. You stop apologizing for your impact. And you stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain you. That's when your aura becomes unstoppable, not because it gets bigger or louder, but because it becomes untouchable by other people's projections. You learn to let admiration flow in without letting it inflate your ego, to let discomfort bounce off without letting it make you small, to set boundaries with those who lean too heavily without guilt, and to rise above the games of those who see you as competition. At that point, your presence stops being something you just have, it becomes something you own. And once you own it, you'll see that the emotional reactions you trigger in others are not obstacles. They're signs you're making exactly the kind of impact you were meant to. Power is a word people like to romanticize. They picture influence, leadership, respect, and control. They think of having the upper hand, calling the shots, being listened to. But real power, the kind that comes from within, the kind your aura carries, isn't about control over others. It's about control over yourself. And with that comes a responsibility most people underestimate. When your presence is strong, whether you want to admit it or not, people look to you. They watch how you move, how you react, how you handle pressure. Even in silence, you're communicating something. Your confidence sets the tone in a room. Your boundaries teach people how to treat you. Your discipline raises the bar for what's acceptable. That means the energy you carry doesn't just affect you, it influences everyone around you. It's tempting to think, well, I didn't ask for that responsibility. And maybe you didn't. But the moment you step into your authenticity and own your space, that responsibility finds you. You can ignore it, or you can choose to handle it with intention. If you ignore it, you risk letting your aura tip into arrogance or intimidation in ways that push away the very people who could help you. If you embrace it, you become a force that not only commands respect, but also inspires it. Owning this responsibility starts with emotional discipline. Just because you can dominate a room doesn't mean you always should. Power without awareness can bulldoze people. And when you bulldoze people, you shut down connection. A strong aura doesn't need to prove itself in every situation. It knows when to speak and when to listen, when to lead from the front, and when to guide from the side. There will be moments when your energy feels like too much for a certain environment. That doesn't mean you shrink. It means you calibrate. You learn how to adjust your delivery without compromising your truth. It's the difference between being a spotlight that blinds people and being a light that allows others to see themselves more clearly. Both are bright, but only one invites growth. Responsibility also means protecting the integrity of your energy. The stronger your aura, the more tempting it is for others to pull from it. They'll come to you for motivation, advice, validation, even solutions to problems they should be solving themselves. While it's noble to want to help, you have to remember that every yes costs you energy. If you say yes too often, you'll find yourself depleted, resentful, and less able to maintain the very presence people value in you. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're a form of stewardship. They preserve the quality of your power, so you can use it where it actually matters. Another layer of responsibility is understanding the example you're setting. Whether you realize it or not, someone is watching you right now and taking notes. It might be a coworker who admires how you hold your ground in meetings. It might be a younger family member learning what self-respect looks like. It might be a stranger who notices how you speak to people in positions others overlook. Your aura teaches people more than your words ever could. If your presence is inconsistent, if you're confident in one moment and reactive in the next, you send mixed messages about what real strength looks like. That's why humility is such an important part of this equation. A powerful aura is not about being untouchable. It's about being anchored. You can be grounded without being rigid, confident without being condescending, influential without being manipulative. People will follow someone they respect, but they will defend and support someone they both respect and trust. Trust comes from showing that you know the weight of the power you carry and that you won't abuse it. New responsibility also means understanding the ripple effect of your actions. When you step into a situation with confidence, you give others permission to do the same. When you face a challenge without crumbling, you show others that it's possible. But the opposite is also true. When you let your ego run the show, you give others permission to do the same. This is why the best leaders and the most impactful people operate from a place of service rather than superiority. They recognize that their power is most effective when it's used to elevate others, not just themselves. There will be times when responsibility feels heavy. You'll wish you could just turn it off and move through life without people paying attention to every move you make. But part of owning a powerful aura is accepting that it comes with a level of visibility you can't fully escape. The question is, what do you want people to take away when they experience your presence? Do you want them to feel smaller, or do you want them to feel capable? Do you want them to remember your dominance or your dignity? This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to be intentional. You can have bad days, make mistakes, feel frustrated. That's human. But the way you carry those moments matters. Losing your temper in front of someone who sees you as a role model can change their perception of what strength looks like. Avoiding accountability when you've made a mistake can erode the trust your aura has built over time. Responsibility is knowing that your energy has an impact and making sure that impact is aligned with your values. One of the most powerful things you can do with a strong presence is to make space for others to step into their own. It's not about dimming your light. It's about holding it steady while encouraging others to light their own flame. That's the mark of someone who understands the responsibility of power. They don't just command attention. They create environments where others feel empowered to bring their best selves forward. Ultimately, the responsibility of having a powerful aura comes down to this: knowing you have the ability to influence the emotional climate of any space you enter and choosing to use that ability with purpose. It's realizing that the same energy that can silence a room can also inspire it. The same presence that can intimidate can also empower. And the difference lies in your awareness and your intention. You didn't choose to be the person who stands out without trying. You didn't choose to carry energy that turns heads and changes atmospheres, but you do get to choose what you do with it. And when you decide to carry it with grace, discipline, and integrity, you stop being just someone with a strong presence. You become someone whose presence makes a lasting positive mark on the people and the spaces you touch. Here's the truth. There comes a moment when you have to decide whether you're going to keep apologizing for who you are, or you're going to own it. Not halfway. Not when it's convenient, not only around people who already approve of you, fully every day, everywhere you go. Too many people with a powerful aura spend years playing small because they've been taught to believe their strength is a flaw. They've been told they're too loud, too confident, too opinionated, too much. And instead of questioning where that message comes from, they take it on as fact. They start shrinking, softening, blending in. They lower their voice so others don't feel overshadowed. They downplay their achievements so they don't make anyone jealous. They tiptoe through life, trying not to disturb anyone's comfort zone. But here's what that does. It kills the very thing that makes you magnetic in the first place. Your aura, your presence, your energy. It's not an accident. It's the result of every moment you chose to stand back up after being knocked down. It's the way you've taught yourself to trust your instincts when everyone else second-guessed you. It's the discipline you've built, the values you've protected, the courage you've cultivated. That's not something you owe anyone an apology for. Owning your energy means you stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop waiting for the right environment, the right people, or the right timing. You decide that your authenticity is not negotiable. This doesn't mean you bulldoze others or refuse to adapt. It means you adapt without erasing yourself. You speak your truth even when your voice shakes. You show up fully even when you're unsure of the reception. You live in a way that aligns with your values, regardless of how comfortable that makes other people. Here's what happens when you do that. The wrong people start falling away. Not because you push them out, but because they can no longer connect with the version of you that's playing small. They only knew how to relate to you when you were dimmed down. And that's okay. In fact, it's necessary, because as those spaces clear, The right people step in. People who see you clearly, who match your energy instead of draining it, who challenge you in healthy ways, who celebrate your wins without secretly resenting them. Owning your energy fully also means protecting it like it's your most valuable asset, because that means setting boundaries without guilt, saying no without a 10-minute explanation, and refusing to give access to people who have shown they can't handle your presence with respect. You don't let every opinion penetrate your mindset. You don't let every invitation into your calendar. You become intentional about where you invest your time, because you understand that every yes you give is a piece of your energy you'll never get back. And here's something people rarely tell you. When you start owning your energy fully, you stop chasing. You stop chasing approval, opportunities, relationships, and recognition. You start attracting instead, because people can feel when you're moving from a place of desperation versus a place of certainty. Certainty is magnetic. Certainty says, I know who I am, and I'm not here to prove it. I'm here to live it. That's what draws the right opportunities, the right connections, and the right experiences into your life. Of course, there's a catch. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. Owning your energy fully means accepting that not everyone will get you. Some will misinterpret your confidence as arrogance. Some will assume your decisiveness is bossiness. Some will feel threatened simply because you exist. If you let that stop you, you've handed your power over to people who never had the capacity to carry it. If you keep going anyway, you teach the world that you are not available for smallness. You also have to be willing to expand your capacity. A strong aura isn't a final destination, it's a foundation. Once you own it, you start to see new possibilities for how you can use it. Maybe it's leading a team, building a brand, creating art, mentoring others, speaking your truth in a bigger arena. Whatever it is, the more you live in alignment with your energy, the more your capacity grows. You become someone who not only holds space for yourself, but also creates space for others to step into their own power. Owning your energy fully is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up as yourself, even when it's messy, even when you're still figuring things out, even when the world would rather you play a role that's easier for them to accept. It's about having the courage to live unapologetically and the wisdom to do it with integrity. Because here's the thing, you don't inspire people by being flawless. You inspire them by being real and consistent. You inspire them by walking into a room and being the same person you are when nobody's watching. You inspire them by making decisions that reflect your values, not your fears. And you inspire them by refusing to shrink, even when shrinking would make your life more comfortable in the short term. So this is your call to action. Stop waiting for the world to give you a green light. Stop editing yourself down to fit into spaces that weren't built for the real you. Stop thinking you need to explain your worth to people who have already decided not to see it. Decide right now that your energy is yours to own and that you will not waste it on anything or anyone that asks you to be less than who you are. Because here's what's on the other side of that decision. Freedom. Freedom from other people's expectations. Freedom from the constant exhaustion of trying to be liked by everyone. Freedom from the weight of approval seeking. And in that freedom, you become unstoppable. Not because you never face challenges, but because you finally understand that your aura isn't just something you have, it's something you are. The moment you fully own it is the moment you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. And that's when your presence stops being too much for most people and starts being exactly what the right people have been waiting for. So own it fully, without apology, without hesitation, without permission. Your energy is your responsibility, your weapon, your shield, and your gift. The world doesn't need you smaller. It needs you as you are. At the end of the day, here's what it all comes down to. Your aura is not an accident, and it's not a mistake. It is the sum of every lesson you've learned, every battle you've fought, every boundary you've set, and every time you've chosen to rise when it would have been easier to stay down. You're not here to dilute yourself for the comfort of people who refuse to grow. You are not here to apologize for taking up space in a world that desperately needs examples of what self-respect, resilience, and authenticity look like in action. And you are certainly not here to beg for acceptance from anyone who is committed to misunderstanding you. So walk into every room like you belong there, because you do. Shriek like your voice matters, because it does. Carry yourself like your presence has weight, because it always will. And when people say you're too much, smile, because what they're really saying is you're more than they're ready for. That's not a reason to shrink. That's a reason to stand even taller. Your aura is your power. Protect it, sharpen it, own it, and let it light the path, not just for you, but for every person who's still trying to find the courage to do the same. The world doesn't need another person who fits in. It needs more people who stand out and stand firm. Be one of them.